had action. Oh, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. The ladies of Whatever and Stuff are back with you today to discuss and have great conversation. This makes you feel good on the inside. I'm Mia here with my girls, Pastor G and Larisha, here to have a conversation.
Hello, how are you?
Yes, and we are here and we are going to discuss communication.
Mm.
This is a good one.
This is a good one, girls, because is the hardest thing that we have to do on this earth. I promise. It has to be because it causes mass confusion if it's not accurate.
Oh,
What?
Right?
What?
Oh my gosh.
it can. It
Oh,
100% can.
100% can. And so
So go ahead and start it off because
I'm gonna
you
start it
have
off.
something.
Okay.
I'll start it off because
Okay.
I'm gonna give a
Because
little backstory. So I just got back into the country, traveling with my wonderful sister. And my sister Megan is a Dora the Explorer. I'm gonna steal your word, Larisha. And
ooh,
we had a great time. And one of these mornings, we woke up and we were going to go swim with the turtles, the sea turtles, and we
mhm,
were going to go see the flamingos. And so I have to make you laugh about me just so we can understand communication and how flawed it can really be, how
okay.
easy it can go south, literally. So I'm like, Megan, why do we have to go see the flamingos? Like we can see them anywhere. Me, just saying something.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
me, they're only here in this country this amount of time. They fly from here to there, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay. So she starts giving the whole history. Did you know that they turn the color based off of what they eat? Didn't know. So you learn something new every day, right?
I
So
didn't know that either. Okay.
I've seen the flamingos in Miami. Her
Mhm.
girlfriend is like, no, not in Miami, Mia. I'm like, I've seen them in Miami. Now,
Mm-hmm.
backstory about me, when I travel, I like to go to museums and zoos,
Oh, I
right?
didn't know zoos. I knew
Zoos.
museums. I didn't know zoos. Okay.
So zoos, museum, and like old mansions, libraries. I love libraries too, things like that, right? And so I said, no, for real, I'm certain that they're in Miami. Megan says, your sister, when your sister knows you, Megan says, Mia, are you sure you're not thinking about the zoo? At that moment, I had already said that to myself. I said, Mia, I think you're thinking about the zoo. So I just busted out laughing. But in that quick second, I realized how important communication is because
Mhm.
she's talking about where they originate from.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I'm thinking about where I can recall where I've seen them,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
But we're in the same car and we're having the same conversation. Of course, I had to bust out laughing because I recognized not only did I see them at the zoo, but the intro to Miami Vice is what I had going through my brain.
Oh, goodness. It's so
Oh
crazy.
Lord. Yes.
Oh my
The
goodness.
intro,
Okay.
listen, now that was the 80s, y'all. Why did I have the intro of Miami Vice going through my brain when
Because you're
I'm
Who
talking
thinking
about
about
knows?
Miami.
flamingos?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Miami.
Mhm.
I'm
So
thinking Miami, right? So,
Mhm.
so I say that all, and I mean that was a really light story. But when we talk about communication, I see it with people where it causes the most outrageous arguments. You have families
Mhm.
who don't talk for years. You have countries that have gone to war. You have people who have been murdered. You have people who have lived lives that they thought that they were really living all based off of false communicate. Well, not even false communication, what they hear
Here. Mhm.
versus what
what
is
it is.
really being said, right?
Yeah.
And so as I've gotten in my life to this point in my life, I find myself saying more and more to people, are you hearing what I'm saying?
Yeah. I was gonna
Or are
say
you hearing
yes.
the story you're telling yourself?
Yeah,
I didn't
part of being a good communicator, not to cut you off, is actually being an active listener. Are you
And
listening to
people
what's
don't
being
do it.
communicated to you? Are you listening actually, instead of
No.
already having an idea of what you want to say next
Mm-hmm.
before
right.
they even finish? You actually have to really wait and listen. Being a good listener is a very good way to communicate. That's to me one of the first parts of being a good communicator
But
is
that's
being a
the
listener.
issue. It's what you said.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes when somebody is speaking, you're just thinking about your reply. So you are
Mm-hmm.
not hearing anything. And the Bible talks about it. Be slow to speak
Slow to
and be
speak.
quick to listen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
And that's the problem. We don't
Yeah.
listen.
No, and I actually think just talking about communication, one a big thing for me, and you guys know this, also is the delivery of your communication.
Oh,
There's
absolutely.
so many times, and I know you guys laugh at me. Everyone always says, like, I really do take time to think about what I'm going to say, almost no matter what it is, before I say it, because the delivery of communication really affects so many things. Like if you say something and your delivery is a little off, that's how someone's going to receive it, even if that's not what you meant. So it's
And you
really
can't back
you can't take it back.
once it's
So
out.
really
Can't take
thinking
it
about
back.
what you want to say, yes, the delivery is a big deal.
But
Yep.
The tone
also,
and
in addition
cadence.
to that, one of the things I've discovered, everything doesn't warrant a response. Just
No, it
because somebody
doesn't.
says something to you does not mean
Mm-hmm.
that you have to have a response. Because one of the things I'm learning is if you are bitter,
Mm-hmm.
if you're angry, if whatever your emotion is in that moment, like you said, that's not a place from which you need to speak. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you're in situations with people, and I'm learning that as I go through this journey, because I'm recognizing that the way I communicate, my tone, my tenor, it's
Mm-hmm.
steeped in a place that I don't mean for it to be. But once I begin to speak in certain situations, things that I'm not aware of are
Mm-hmm.
coming to the surface, and I'm shooting bullets in my community
Mm-hmm.
I
at
don't feel
people.
the bullets. I hear you when you say
No,
it.
but this is more
um,
contextual to church. That's
yeah,
where the
Well, you
bullets.
speak a lot of
yes,
truth in church, so I'm gonna say that out loud
yes,
too.
But still,
mm-hmm.
sometimes the
But
tone, and you don't hear it
yes,
until
but
you play it back. And so it's been
yeah,
pointed out to me. And so I've had to recognize that it came from internal trauma that I did
mm-hmm.
not know. And once I get into that vein of communication, whatever is there, it comes up and comes out. So as I grow into pastoral leadership, one of the things that I'm mindful of is that everything does not have to be said at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to sit with what somebody says to you
Absolutely, you
because
do.
it's not really, you're not in a space to communicate. And we need to understand that's okay. Not responding is not a sign of weakness, it's really
No,
a sign of maturity,
it is.
because
I've
only fools
always felt that way.
argue
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
do that. So I think it's important, and that's why listening is so important. Not just hearing,
yeah,
but
listening.
actually, like you said, listening. Because when you listen and when you feel how you are inside, you know whether that's a safe space
Mm-hmm.
to launch
Mm-hmm.
a
Yep.
response, and if you know that it's not,
Mm-hmm.
respectfully, you have something to say. No, not at the moment, and the
Not at the
moment may
moment.
never come, because
Yeah,
it
that's
may
okay
be that
too.
that was a communication you needed to sit with and
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
that you just needed to hear. And I think we have to be okay with that. It's not weakness, it's
It's
actually maturity.
It really is. And even Mia, what you're saying in reference to Gina saying like she shoots bullets. Sometimes the communication, when you are so close to someone, we're so used to how we communicate, all of us with each other,
Mm-hmm.
that to us it doesn't seem like bullets. But to someone who may not know Gina on that level, in depth, the friendships, the sisterhood, it
Right.
may seem like that to them, but to us, it's like, oh, that's, we know that's Jean. You know what I mean? Like, and
It's
it's
very
not
true.
received to us the same
Very
way
true.
because, two, she may not talk to us that way, or we don't receive it that way,
Right.
because
Right.
we're close enough. Exactly. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. It's
But
That's very true. It's very, very true. I think that one of the something that happened on the trip, they, you're around your core crew, whatever. You things,
Mhm.
you're sitting on the beach talking, just whatever, and there was a conversation that came up, and it was there was a comment that was made that you could tell was made out of love and, like, a realization, like, you know what, I really believe that this is something that you really want, blah 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 blah. And it went left real quick because what was heard was, remember, not what was said, but what was heard was taken the wrong way.
mhm,
And the
Okay.
conversation had to be reeled back. Now, one person knows the triggers. She got up, walked away, came back, like, she was like, listen, this is not going to affect me. I understand where you're coming from. We can agree to disagree. You're still my girl.
Mhm.
It is what it is, right? What
Mhm.
I told the other one in our conversation when the other one left, I said, listen, I had to learn, not with all of my friends, but there were certain friends that sometimes they just needed they just needed an ear. They don't want to hear any. anything. They don't want to hear
Need a
anything.
place to
They just want
receive,
you to
pour it
listen.
out,
They just
pour it
want
out.
you to listen,
Yes.
right? They just want
Mhm.
you to listen. And so when you've done what you think you can do, and all you can do is listen, and you can listen no more, it's okay to gracefully bow out
Right.
Yes. Yes.
so that it's not offensive, right?
Mhm.
But they will pick up on the movement of the conversation and understand one or two things. One, this might not be this conversation I can have with this person, which is another real thing, right?
Mhm.
Or two, the approach may be a little different the next time the conversation comes out, and maybe a real conversation can be had. So then when the kumbaya moment was over and all parties come back together and it was a great place, you could still see that it affected everyone,
Mhm. Yeah.
except for me not knowing that flamingos turn pink.
You are so
You know,
crazy.
I'm like, been where you are, understand what you're going through,
Mhm.
but you had that moment, but I'm gonna enjoy these penguins and these daggone sea turtles. You understand what I'm saying? Because I understand,
Mhm.
like, there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you
Mhm.
can do.
Yeah.
But getting back to the communication part, I think that when I personally look at it, Gina, to what you said, it took me a long time.
For
I
what?
mean,
Which
long
part?
to learn how to not say something. And I'm
Okay.
talking about I stayed in trouble when I was younger.
Mhm.
I didn't understand. My father said, you're not Robin Hood, me. You can't save everybody.
Mhm.
You don't need to jump to the defense of everybody. And I mean long time, meaning like there are still different variations of trying to help that I still do to this day, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
learning what that looks like, because again, to what Gina said, sometimes you just have to not say anything.
Oh yeah. I think I
And it
perfected
takes
that
time,
years ago. It's
Mia.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's
Some things you learn easy. Yeah, some things it's just innate. Some
yeah,
things it takes life experiences, and then again, like you said, sometimes it's just learning. We learn
because I'm
through
just
life.
starting that journey.
Mhm.
Because I mean, one of the things that my parents will tell you is I had no self control. Like if it was her mouth, they knew their child. Like, and that's the
Mhm.
problem today. People don't want to admit the truth about their children. You need to, because
Right.
it's
Oh
not a reflection of you. But
no.
they knew if it was her mouth, you're talking about my child. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean that I'm gonna let you go there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But they knew Gina had no self control. I'm going to respond in a
Mhm.
heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mhm.
it's just, and I'm learning from difficult experiences and I'm grateful for it. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? But everything doesn't. Sometimes and most times you need to sit with it.
Yeah.
Because when you sit with it, half the stuff doesn't need a
It
response.
does not even warrant a
It
response. It
doesn't
does
warrant
not.
a
It
response. Save your energy.
100%
Right.
save it.
So
Yes, and
around
it'll keep you peaceful. It'll keep your heart full.
That part.
All that.
yeah.
So
I
let me
want to
tell you,
say
be it
around
serious
36,
peace.
I started just saying out loud, Mia, practice the pause. I would have to say it. I would have to say it to myself.
Oh,
Practice
absolutely.
the pause. Practice the
Hmm.
pause. Practice the pause. Practice the pause. Because and then it was my facial expressions, because that's always been, it was the mouth and then the facial
Hmm.
expressions that follow. Like the eyes can cut, the roll,
Hmm.
the roll, like the looks,
But
the
Hmm.
sometimes that's more communicative too. Because now y'all know my mother. Brenda Lynn was not much of a talker. Mommy had three looks, and you knew what was what. And so that's another thing. Sometimes we do communicate more
A lot of
often
times,
than we
yes.
realize with our
Mhm,
facial expressions. So that's even something. And like you, my thing is, Lord, temper my tongue, bridle my tongue,
Hmm.
and increase my understanding, because I really want to hear people. I
mhm,
Hmm.
really do. I mean, and it's like you said, sometimes people just need to get it off. It's
mhm.
not even intended to you. Like you said, some people just need a space to
Hmm.
relay it. And the reality is, I'm not going to allow it to stick with me and
Right.
stay on
No.
me. You know what I mean? I'll let you say what you need to say, but if I don't need to own it, I'm not going to own it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll be that
Hmm.
vessel for you, but I'm going to wash it off before I lay my head. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Down to sleep. So, like Larisha said, the peace can be mine. But again, these are the things that we have to ask for help with.
Mhm,
You
We can't
do.
do this on our own, because the world that we live in, it warrants a response. You know what I mean? But again, it just depends on the situation. And so it just
And
depends on where you are in
yeah,
life.
yeah.
Because
And
I'm
so
just
many
really
people are
coming
going
to
through
this
things.
understanding.
Yes, and so many people are actually going through things where we all need someone to talk to. But sometimes, like I said, it's just you just want to talk. You just want to get it off your chest. And a lot of times, too, people, I think, even in that communication, when someone asks something, a lot of times people are asking for advice, but they really don't want advice. Okay, they don't want the truth. So sometimes, exactly. So, and it's also knowing in those conversations, okay, is this something where I'm just going to sit back and listen?
Yeah.
Or do I give quote unquote advice? You guys know I'm not really big on, I'm not gonna say not advice, but it's more listening. It's how can I say it? My opinion. Sometimes I like to keep my opinion to myself because that's my opinion. It depends on my experiences. So it's really just, again, being an active listener. What do you need? Giving little small tidbits, but not really kind of letting everyone figure it out. Because we do eventually, we go to the Lord, we pray about it, and you figure it out on your own. Because really not for someone else to tell you, because we really don't know exactly what you're going through. Each of us, we're going through our own journey. So it really is just being a good listener
And
half the
Risha,
time. Yes.
to that point though, I think too, as I'm maturing in life, what I'm recognizing, like we also have to help people because you need to be clear on what you want from me. Because again, you know, if you're asking me, then I'm going to give you what you asked for. But if you know that that's not what you want, like my mom and dad are just like the greatest because daddy was a giver. So whether somebody asks, can I borrow, can I have, he never gave with the expectation of giving.
That's
He's
what you're
like, it
taught
doesn't
not
make a
to.
difference what they say. He said, Gina, once I give it, I'm
That's
not
it.
expecting to receive it. Now, Brendolyn, know your words. Can I
Mm-hmm.
borrow? Is can I borrow? Can I have? Is can I have? And what I've realized as adults and young adults, we don't want the pushback. As adults, when you go to a parent, can I borrow is going to come with a level of communication that
Yes.
you don't always want to hear, but you're bold enough to ask me. But then you don't want to be adult enough to receive what I'm going to say to you. So can I have or can I borrow sounds good. You know what I mean? Because you're not going to get kickback. But can I have, well, baby, you 36. How many times are you going to ask? Can you
Yeah.
have? And so again, you have to be mindful when you approach people to communicate. Be mindful of what you say because what the person gives you, if that's what you ask me for, and one of the things we'll learn is the truth that hurts. And so if I come to Risha or I come to Mia, here's the one thing, like in my relationship, I'm with a Virgo and he's 10 years older. And when I tell you he can put me all the way together, yeah, he did it this past week. But so he was like, you know, what do you have to say? Nothing. Because some things don't warrant a response, especially if you're right. And it's a level of maturing on my part because I'm like, you wouldn't say anything to harm me or hurt me. Just like with
Because you
you
know it's
all.
coming from a loving place. You know that it's coming
Exactly.
from a
If I
loving
come
place.
to you all and you're giving me the real, the mature person is like, hold up. First of all, let me see who I'm listening to. Let's run it back.
Yes.
We've been
And
rocking since
exactly.
93. We've been rocking since 2003. These are my girls. They would never. So there's a level of maturity on both ends. You know what I
It
mean?
is.
And if we are really loving each other and if we're really family, we got to help. You know what I mean? Mature us and grow us. It really is a level of maturity. And I'm just grateful to be at this point in my life where I want to be able to communicate. And the other thing that I've learned is I can't be too concerned about how the other people receive it. That's for God to deal with. Too often we try to be too in control, worrying about people's feelings. And the reality is, if I believe in what I'm standing on in that communication, that's what I have to stand on. And God, if something else is amiss, I need you to handle it. Because at the end of the day, I know my intention. Now, how they receive it, help them. You know what I mean? So it's just it's twofold. We have to be mindful, but the person coming with the communication, they have just as much of a responsibility in that situation. It's really an even two-way street. It really is.
And it depends on who we're communicating with. I also think too, just on that note, I mean, right now we're talking about speaking, but even communication through text messaging.
Oh,
You know,
girl.
I have young adults, you know, so And I have, older family members, but even so many things can get lost in a text
And
message. So
misconstrued.
I am still give me a call. And that's even
Right.
at work
Yes.
through like a Teams message or
Right.
an email. Sometimes a phone call, to hear someone else's voice, to hear their tone is
Mm-hmm.
much easier than to interpret a text message, because again, it just depends on what you're doing, what time of the day it is, how you read an email. I mean, you can say the same thing to 5 people, and 5 people are going to interpret it some way different. So
Because
sometimes
it's
it's
where
better.
they are. And that's for
Correct.
me. Like,
Yes.
I know what I said, but if somebody just made you mad or you just got a disheartening email, that's the spirit and space you're in. So you're actually right. Like, I'm like, I
Hmm.
know what my words were, and I try to be mindful, no exclamation, no all caps. You know what I mean? Smiley face
Hmm.
here. You can soften it, but I don't know where
It's
you
still,
are. And,
no,
and
it's
so
true.
that's what it is. Most times people are receiving whatever's being said
Mm-hmm.
from their point,
Yeah.
From
from
what
Yeah.
their space.
yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And for a long time I thought the solution was to not say anything at all. Well, that didn't work.
No. Yeah.
No,
It
seriously,
depends.
especially in
Well, yeah,
well,
it
not
depends.
obviously not in all instances, but there were some instances where I would just temper my tongue and just not say
Hmm.
anything else. That didn't solve the problem, because what ended up happening is that it was an enabling,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
It was enabling the behavior. And then so when you get tired of it, when you get, it's kind of like you just push the needle, push, 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 push. So then I realized there's got to be a way. You're a communicator, me, and there's got to be a way that you can communicate the issue without it being an issue. And so
Hmm.
there would be certain things that I would say to precursor conversation, so that you understood that I was coming from a certain space, not to be, and it wasn't, no disrespect. It wasn't one of those no disrespects, but I
Yeah.
would just figure out ways to be open about it. And it's actually helped me all of my life to be what I think I am, a pretty open book, right? I
Mhm.
think
Hmm.
there's nothing that I'm shamed of. But I'm not yelling things from the mountaintop. But if it's a
Yeah.
conversation, I'm willing and open to have a conversation. But what I learned along my path is that as open that as I am of a communicator,
Hmm.
people had a hard time communicating with me,
Mhm.
Hmm. Okay.
Because
right?
Mia can
Really?
be intimidating, but Mia is not intimidating. It's like you said,
Oh.
it depends.
Okay.
Mia is as soft, as easygoing and loving. And one of the things I've always admired about her is she can really put somebody together. I mean,
Hmm.
honey, she could literally be cussing them out without cursing.
We
And
call it
they
nice
walk
nasty,
away
honey.
thinking that she's complimenting him. And I'm like, that is so not what just happened here. And I'm like, but that's a skill.
But you
And
said
that's
Hmm.
a gift.
no.
And when Mia's in a certain space, she is no nonsense, but it's not that abrasive. No, I mean,
Yeah.
none of us are like that. And I know what you say about me. I'm not a mean person
Mm-mm.
deep down, but I
Mm-mm.
know my tongue can cut. I
Yeah.
know I can probably kill people
Mm-hmm.
with my
Yeah.
tongue, which I'm not
Easy,
proud of,
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
but no, it's a gift. But again, I really think it's more so of where the individual is.
Yeah. Where they're
Right,
coming
I
from.
really
right.
do. It's about the space that you're in, which is why we have to learn to be okay with who we are and where we
Correct. And
are,
take
good,
no
bad, and
offense.
different.
Yeah, I don't look half the time. I'm just, I'm using that as an example. But most of the time, I look at something when, even if it comes off offensive, even at work, like, okay, so this really is not about me. This is about you. So let me
That
keep it moving. Okay, all right, and then
that part.
go. And I know some people will say, "Oh, you let things roll off your back too easy." It
No,
really, it really
It's
is
not
never
that,
that with me. It
right.
never is. But it is that I could look
but
at a
it's your
situation.
perspective.
Exactly. I could look at something and say, "This is
It
not
warrants
towards
none of
me."
your time.
It doesn't, you know what I mean? And if it's something that does warrant my time, I'm going to give it a
I'm
little
gonna
bit
pull
more
you all the way
energy, give it
together.
in
Pull
a
you all the way
response.
together. Right, right,
Exactly. But most of
right.
the time I can tell, like, okay, this, like, definitely at work. Oh, this is, you're just having a bad day,
Yep.
but your bad day is not going to affect me. Okay.
Hello.
Response. And let's move on
And
from
keep
there.
it pushing. And
Because
guess
again,
what?
it's to keep
I
that
expect
off
it.
of you, that weight
Right,
off of all of
right.
Absolutely. You
us,
gotta
because we
keep.
have so many other things to deal with besides what someone else is going through
I don't want
in
your
that
bag.
way.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah, I
want
don't
Yeah.
want
your bag.
the baggage.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah, and
luggage.
I've seen
No.
I've seen people grow from that space of offense and defense to a space of like, oh, it's not even worth it. Like, and it feels good to see that growth, because I used to be exhausted by watching people exhaust themselves by going through all these motions, all because of lack of communication. Like, you have told yourself a story, like you have made a whole movie. You have made a whole movie, and you don't even know the intentions.
We all know that.
person
We all know
had
that person, these
when they made the
situations. We
comment.
do. Yes.
So, girl, you got
Yes.
a part 1, a part 2, a part 3. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's done gone in and made 5, 6. It's like a sequel. It's like a
Yes.
a sex couple. I don't even know what you want to call it. It's so many episodes of the story that you told.
Yes. And that's broken up friendships. I mean, a lot of that's broken up probably friendships, a lot of relationships over misinterpreting communication.
You can't recall, y'all know I love my syndication. So, I go to sleep watching Living Single on a regular. And I stay in Living Single, season 1. Listen, same thing for the Jeffersons, season 1, baby. Different world is season 1 and 2. But no, Living Single is this one episode when Overton and Kyle get into an argument, and Overton moves in with the girls. And by the time him and Kyle come back together, they're talking about bonds, and they can't even recall what the argument was about. And when you get to that point, it's like, because it's like Larisha said, are we even hearing each other? And half the time, no, because you're building your response.
Yeah,
you're
trying to prove your case. Proving your case. Exactly.
To nothing that's being said. You just want to get back.
But you're building your defense to the story that you told yourself, not even what was said to you. I just be like,
not listening.
So now when I say it to people, like, because I mean, I just and going through the and I mean, you understand what I'm saying? And I just sit back and I say,
do you understand what you're saying?
I just simply say, are we upset with the story we're telling ourselves, or are we upset with what happened? Because I was standing right here with you when this happened, and that is not what I took.
That part.
And I was standing right here next to you. I'm not offended.
That entire.
And I'm not telling you that you cannot be offended. I'm just trying to understand why you're offended.
What do you exactly
offended about? You gotta help people, because they'll go all the way around Farmer Jacob's barn, and it's like, yo, where are we landing this plane? Where are we going? But I really do believe it comes with maturity. It comes with it really depends on your environment. And it's like you said, some families, some friends, they'll just let it go. They won't respond. And it's like, no, but not responding is not always right, because it leaves that person to believe what they're saying is true. And I think it's like Larisha said, it's knowing what exactly to say. And the intonation. And for my walk in life, I tell people I'm dropping the word of God, and there's nothing else to say after that. And that's why I'm grateful for where I am, because I'm like, I don't have anything to really say. It's really what he says. And that's why when we first started this, his word says, be slow to speak, be quicker to listen. Listen, it's there. There's nothing else to say. And that's something that's good for us, because it helps you to grow. And like Larisha said, if you want that PEACE,
Gina's spelling out a word, ain't she?
She does. She's been doing. This is back, honey. This is back to Stewart Hill.
Listen, yes,
we're taking it back to Stewart Hill. Back to Stewart Hill.
Okay, but Gina, so you bring it to, it's in the word. Absolutely true. Larisha, where did I gave my lesson? So I learned the hard way, girl. A couple spankings, just getting the detention a whole lot. Detention was like 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, right?
What my mouth or my patience?
How did you learn both? Like, how did you what was your thing when you said, oh, if I do it this way, then this is easier? Like, how did you?
I really honestly can't recall when that happened. I've always been a more of a, I mean, I was active. I had plenty of friends as a young person, in every sport, in church activities. I've always been outgoing, but I've also been a little more of a quieter spirit soul, as far as, maybe some of my friends. So, just having those friend groups where I was the person who could listen to the conversation more, probably because I was just a little extra nosy. So I would sit and listen before. I wouldn't be the one like yapping, and I've never been argumentative.
You're
I
trying to
didn't
get all
come.
the tea.
Yes, I never came. My parents didn't argue in front of us. My
Right.
grandparents didn't argue. I mean, I'm sure they had their sidebar arguments, but I was never raised really around a lot of argumentative people. Now, I will say that's my American family. My Jamaican family, absolutely. But again, it was not even in that space. We weren't in that space enough for it to be like commonplace. It'd be like, you over your grandmother's eating, your uncles arguing, cousins, whatever. But I was in and out of that space. But on a normal base, everyone was just pretty even keeled. So I think that's part of my personality too. Is just like, I'm just even keeled.
But
and then when and then when it got like, I can tell you this, I remember there were times where we were like young people at like, say, my grandmother's house, and my cousins were like fighting and arguing. I would be like, oh, it's time to go. Like, I don't really feel like being around this. So I think that nature just really didn't resonate with me at all, even as a child. So even you guys know when and I could argue, I could get into it, but I would rather us. Can we just solve this and keep it? Yeah, can we solve this and keep it moving? Because that tension is just it weighs too heavy on me. Like, let's get it over with. Say what we have to say. Because even Derek and I, we really do not argue. We agree to disagree.
That part.
And we've done that since we've been together. Because let me tell you something, you are never going to agree with everyone 100%. That wouldn't make sense.
No.
You have your own personality, your own thought process. Exactly. You have your own thought process, the way that you like to do things. But there are some things that you will realize that it's not worth an argument. Now, you should be able to say how you feel, get it off your chest, and hear the other person's perspective. And then just, for some things, it's like, okay, we're just going to agree to disagree. And that doesn't have to be where there's any tension. It's just okay, and then we can go on to the next thing. So that's I think it's just how I was probably reared.
You and I are probably the same way, and Gina probably the same way too. Like, I didn't see my parents argue at all. Somebody tried to tell me that was dysfunctional. I was like, call it what you want to call it.
I've heard it. I have heard that people feel like that's dysfunctional.
If you don't, it is. But our parents, first of all, we were raised in the 70s. We were raised. That's number one. Okay, we were raised. Something that a lot of people don't know what that means to raise. And our parents they didn't let children see certain things.
Correct. That's what I said. I know they had.
Oh, I know they had their battlegrounds, but it wasn't a child's place to hear it and to see it. And it's like you said, my mother's side of the family. Oh yeah, that's a whole different ball game. I was exposed, but that wasn't my common occurrence. I was with them hit or miss, but I just think for us, and it wasn't our parents trying to keep us sheltered. But now children are exposed to too much where they're not allowed to be children because they are hearing and doing and being placed in adult situations, and they don't have the maturity to understand. You know what I mean? And that's how you have damaged, traumatized adults, because you have triggers from when you were a child. You don't know where they stem from. So I think our parents did do what husband and wives did, even if they struggled. But it wasn't for me to know we were struggling. I ate. I had clothes on my back. And so I don't believe.
Well, the reality is with that, what could we do? I wasn't working. I could. So if they were arguing about bills, right? What would a child need to know? Could I give money to help them pay the bill? That's none of my business. What's going on about what?
So they didn't need to let me hear it, because Gina would have been in them streets. Well, listen,
telling your grandmother. Exactly. Yes. Telling, spilling the tea.
They talk. They don't know. And then, well, my mama said she couldn't afford rent. What's your mother? And so you don't need because that's what children.
That's what children do.
They don't know.
No, they don't.
Yeah. So they're going to repeat what they hear. So let children be children. And so I don't think it's dysfunction. I
think it's age appropriate. That's what I said. Age appropriate. Rearing 100%. Yeah. Unless you had your little, your ear to the door listening, and even then I was like, well, what? I can't even hear if they know what they're talking about anyway. And it really listening. And this is the thing, it wasn't even an argument, because it's like they closed the door to talk. So what y'all in there talking about? I can't even hear. So it wasn't even really, I don't even think they were arguing. I have no idea.
Stay out of grown folks' business.
But I think
off the hook.
Exactly.
But I think even that brings it into a communication space, right? Because that's just a different form of communication, how you communicate around your kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
How you
Yeah.
communicate around your kids, how you deal with adult issues, how you deal with relationships, because Larisha brought up like the workspace. It all communication is so
It's
important in
vital.
so many
Mm-hmm.
spaces. I tell people you keep underestimating the power of a child's ears.
Hmm. They
And
listen to so much.
What?
right, that all they have to do is listen. They ain't got nothing else to do.
Mm-mm.
Think about it, they have
Listen.
nothing else to do but to listen, and they listen
Mm-hmm.
to everything. So when they go to school and they cuss out whomever,
Don't
they
ask where they got
Mm-hmm.
it
because they
Yeah.
heard you either they
Yeah.
either heard it from you or they heard it from something that you allow them to be around.
from. Hmm.
Communication, right? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
home and I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm home. I don't
Mm-hmm.
watch the news because I don't like that form of communication. Okay.
Me
Because
too.
I
I do
learned it,
not.
I learned
I
all
read
the
the news.
lies and propaganda that
Mm-hmm.
comes from the news. I don't care what station you work, what network it's on. It's all a bunch of
Ask my family. They have to call and tell me when something
and
is
tell me what
happening. They
happened.
do.
But
Like, Mom, did you turn on the news? Like, oh, okay,
no, I
let me
I
did
turn the
don't
not.
news
watch it.
on.
I read
I
it
did
because I
not.
can't
I
watch it,
watched
but
Okay.
I
the
swipe
news.
through.
But I heard, and I'm in Baltimore. I'm home. Well, and in Baltimore, that's where I'm from.
Mm.
That there's a huge number of young boys, like 12, 14, robbing and stealing
It's just
cars.
not boys. It's just not boys. It's
It's
just not
girls
boys.
too.
It's baby.
Okay.
It's both, and they
Wait,
out
So
here.
in Baltimore?
in Baltimore, right?
Yes,
So wait, here's the part I'm getting to.
Okay.
The
hiccups.
topic, not
Mm-hmm.
not the fact that this is happening, but the topic that they wanted to communicate was whether or not the box that O'Malley implemented for juveniles was beneficial in trying to maintain these kids who are being let out of these facilities who've done such crimes. It wasn't about the
Okay.
fact that the crimes were happening. And all I could say was, well, it doesn't matter because the statistics that you're giving us right now, it's not true. Communication.
Yeah. Well, we
They're
know
saying a lower
the
number,
news
and the
media.
number is even higher than what they're communicating. They want to make it something based off of somebody who was a governor how many terms ago?
Oh my gosh,
Did
I was still in
Mm-hmm.
that
Baltimore when he was
that
there.
has
Yeah,
nothing
Yeah.
to do with the price of tea in China,
right
right?
now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna close it with this one. And I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
just say my father made me laugh. We're sitting in the restaurant, communication again. And he says he was having a conversation with somebody about how her family wasn't coming somewhere. And one of the brothers was like, well, so and so is past, she's dying. The doctor said she has 9 months. My father said, well, what 9 months got to do with next week? You gonna be here.
I love my daddy Ferg.
So he said sometimes people just need to know what not to say. You should have just said, I don't want to come. But to,
Yes.
but to put out a bold faced lie, I mean, the person could be dying in 9 months. But what that got to do with next week?
Well,
Yeah.
it's more. That's more of
I'm
a definitely
asking you,
not more, but that's an excuse.
I'm
Like
right.
that's
I'm
an
asking you, are
excuse.
you coming to something next week?
Yeah.
Hmm.
You're not dying in 9 months. Someone else is.
And
So
be okay with your truth. But
it
when
be
you're not
okay.
okay with it, then you have to look introspectively with
It,
why you're
Yes.
not okay with communicating because it's not true. That's why you're not okay with it. So
it's
get
now
to
Hmm.
you
the
look
root
foolish.
of what the truth is and you deal with it. You come to grips with it. But that's the thing. We are so quick as adults in society to cop out on being adults.
Yeah. Oh,
There
Yeah.
are so many people who are adults chronologically, but maturity wise,
yeah.
they are
It's just
children.
it's just an age. We just
They
get
are,
older. That people do not
but your
necessarily get mature,
behavior
more
doesn't
mature.
always
Yes.
level up with your age,
No.
and you find that out more and more. Because back to a point Larisha said as we wrap it up, a lot of people can't agree to disagree, and it could stem from childhood never being given a voice.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Oh, I know.
now I
Yes.
have a voice, and now I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to let anybody shut me up. But that's
Yes.
steeped in
Help me, but
trauma.
I can.
But to agree to disagree is okay. And the other thing that you said, which is so true, or Mia said it, when we say, I don't mean no disrespect, baby. That's
That's
exactly what you're
already
about to do.
that's it.
Because
That's
then you
it.
have to preface it. You're about to disrespect me because nobody's going to say no
Or
disrespect, but so now
But
you're contradicting because but means you're going in the
it's
opposite
finna happen.
direction.
It's
but
finna
let's
happen.
be honest
Or
that
you're gonna feel disrespected. Either
culturally
one.
that's what we do. That's what we do. I mean, we're
But
black
we have
people.
to
Come on
grow and
now. No
understand.
disrespect.
No,
However, I know. No, I agree with you for sure.
respectfully, and I'll let you
Yes.
know it's gonna come out disrespectfully, but I don't want it to sound this way. But I need you to know where I'm coming from because I don't
Right.
respect what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's okay. And you don't always have to be nasty.
No,
If
and
you
that's where
don't
the
agree,
delivery.
you don't always
Yes.
have to cut. You can be
Mm-hmm.
very calm. And
Yeah.
that's what I mean when I gave the example about Mia. Mia is, I know in the business side, there's another side of her, but it's still Mama Mia at the
Oh
core.
yeah.
Just like with
Mhm.
Larisha, I know Larisha could be parental. I know my Jamaican can
And
come
we'll
out,
make
but at
sure
the
it's
core,
all things are
I
tight.
know who she is. And
Right.
so, but I can say something and be serious. And that's
Right.
what people say. Well, you always, well, if I'm Kiki Kakan, I think I'll Kiki Kaka. But
Yeah.
if I'm
It
not
ain't gonna be true
joking, why am
Yeah.
I gonna come out like I'm joking? If I'm
Yeah.
serious,
because we're literal people.
yeah, I'm
Yes.
not gonna
The
put a
three of
smile
us
on my
are
face.
very literal
Yeah.
people.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
literal.
And it depends on the surrounding, the situation, the surrounding. It really does. I mean, it just depends. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is why
Yeah.
Plus we know each
communication
other,
very
intimately.
well.
Like sometimes
Very
it's
well.
again, when it's someone that we're dealing with that doesn't know you, I mean, sometimes you can say things where it's like I could say it to
It
Gina
could be
and she
misconstrued.
understands. Someone else would be like,
Great face.
what she say?
Great,
Like, oh no,
great
I didn't
face.
even mean it
Yeah.
like that. No,
Yeah.
And
the
that's what it
person.
is. Because some people, to know them is to love them. And I tell
Yeah.
people
Yes.
that's
Mm-hmm.
how I am with some people. With some people, to know me is to love me. And I don't need to be liked by
By
everyone, but
everybody.
I will be respected.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Well, none
I
of us
will
are going to be
respect
liked
other
by
people as
everyone.
well.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And that could be not saying anything to you at all. That's showing
Mm-hmm.
respect
Yep. Yep.
and
Yep.
restraint.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think, great conversation. I think, communication, I'm sure we come across instances every day, all day, all week, right? All year.
What?
But I think
Mm-hmm.
that when we reflect on this conversation, this is not the first time, and it probably won't be the last time that we have this conversation
Mm-hmm.
collectively and independently. I think that Gina had a really good point when she said that it is our job to really teach it, and we teach it through how we express ourselves
Mm-hmm.
independently of people. People observe a lot, right?
They
They pay
do.
attention to you more than you know. And I find myself saying that to people because, every once in a while I'll send an inbox to somebody who I know that I've known for a long time, not my best friend or anything, but I either see joy in life and I'm so happy for you, or I
Mm-hmm.
see something and I'm just say, hey, listen, it could smile and keep smiling, or so let it go, breathe, whatever it is, right? I remembered a long time ago that I said I was never going to just like anything on Facebook, which is like my intimate friend space, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love everything because if you're on my page and my number, then you're somebody who I like, I've
Mhm.
engaged with, and I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
love it because we need to pass the joy, we need to pass the love, we need to pass the like. But I think that communication is something that as many forms of communication that we have,
Mm-hmm.
for it to still be an issue,
Yeah.
it says a lot about the human race.
There's no better
And that
communication than
education.
this, though. And that's what Larisha
Yes.
said. There's no better communication, but it all goes back to growth and
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
maturity. And when you know who you are, because again, as I elevate into pastoral space, I'm beginning to recognize I stand on God, I stand on his word. So I'm not going to be afraid to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm
Mm-hmm.
hesitant, then I need to look at what I'm saying.
Why and
I need
what?
to
Mm-hmm.
make
Why?
sure
Yeah.
that what I'm saying is grounded. And like I said, because I'm working through some internal trauma that I didn't know existed, I don't want to speak from a bitter place. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a level of
Mm-hmm.
maturity. If you know that you are in a space that's not healthy, why would you speak? Why would you do anything from that space? Because to me, that's more harm than
Mm-hmm.
good.
Mm-hmm.
You
But
know
you
what I
didn't
mean?
know. I mean, to your defense,
No.
we've been talking about it a little bit more, but that's something like you've just recently been
Yes.
Right.
talking about that coming
Yeah.
from that space. So, you didn't know. So
No,
now
and now I can reflect. And I was
right.
telling my
Mm-hmm.
mom,
You were
because
like,
I'm going to a
oh,
retirement dinner tomorrow with a
Mm-hmm.
counselor that's retiring. And I was a straight BITCH before I
Mm-hmm.
left the school system. But it was me. I was unhappy. And as I look
where you
back,
were.
it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't who I was, but that was the space emotionally. So
Mm-hmm.
everything was, and I was like, yeah, I have to own that when I
I
come
was gonna
back into
say,
the
very
spaces
good.
with people,
It's
because that's not who I am. But again, people don't have a heaven to keep me out of, nor
Right.
hell
Mhm.
to put me in. So
Right.
me
Yes.
owning my truth,
Yeah.
And being
I'm okay.
accountable. And guess
It's
what?
okay.
That's not just you. It's all of us.
Hell
We
no,
are
shoot.
here to evolve, to learn,
Absolutely.
to grow, and to be even to
Absolutely.
be I'm like receiving that we have to. There's something that we have to change in us. It's not an easy thing, but
Growth
to
is
say
good.
it is. But to say it, own it, and then go from there. I mean, to
For
me,
me,
that's the best thing that you could do. All
yeah,
of us
it's for me.
Absolutely.
individually. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just being
Absolutely.
accountable,
And I want
understanding
people to
it.
take that away. Like, as long as you're good with you and
Mhm.
you're good with him, at the end of the day, that's all that matters, because you're gonna have to give an account for what you did. And it's
Right.
not because, well, Lord, Larisha made me mad and I was scared to hurt her. So you put in Larisha above me, the God of
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, we don't do that. You know, we
Yeah.
don't do
And
That's
we're
why
no one, and none of us are perfect. No, not one.
absolutely.
Okay.
Girl, did you hear me
So,
tell you that
perfectly
I saw
imperfect.
yeah,
flamingos in Miami?
honey. Yeah,
Okay.
I
And
know.
I'm okay with it.
It's okay.
I'm
It's
so okay
okay.
with it. And I Megan couldn't wait to tell my father. Tell daddy. Tell daddy what Megan. Tell daddy about the
No
flamingos.
shame. Shame.
Oh,
No.
I said, oh, which part? The part that I didn't know that they turn they eat, or the part that I thought that I saw them in Miami and really it was at the zoo. I'm okay
You
with
are
it.
good with who. Listen, I tell people, and this is not to offend anybody, because I love all children. But listen, I could be on a short yellow bus with a cracked helmet, bifocals on, mismatched shoes. Gina could be as clueless
And okay
as
with it.
they come, and I will
Oh,
own
okay.
it all day long, because it's who I am. And as long as I'm good with me, and that's what I really want people, be good with
Be
who
good with who you
you
are.
are,
Yep.
but know who you are.
Know who you are.
That's the thing, and be okay with it. And if you want to be better, then do better.
Doing that
Yeah.
do better.
Yeah.
Do the work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worth it. Do the
Yeah.
work. And the other thing before we leave, I try to tell people, because I'm a good counselor, and my mother's like,
Yeah, you
people
are.
are always calling you, pouring, and I'm like,
I
I don't know
mean,
why.
Brenda Lynn.
But he always says that. And I tell people, though, before you come to me, did you go to him? Because what you're not going to do is bypass God.
Right.
For me, I need you to go on your knees and ask him, because he will use us. We are his vessels.
Yes.
So he will speak through us. But baby, don't bypass him to come to me, because I'm not that person. Now, if he leads you to me, then I'm here for you all day long. But don't bypass God. And that's what I want to encourage people. Get on your knees and let him know. He will direct you to the right people,
Yep,
or he will bring the right
Yes.
people in to your path. And one of the prayers I pray every day is, because I want to hear from God, and I hear from him from a multiplicity of ways, I have to prepare myself to receive from whoever he may send, because I may not always want to hear the
From
best
that's
he
it.
chooses. So where I am
Another
in
part of
life, I'm like,
communication.
I know my flesh. So it's like, sis, you
Yes.
gotta pray to be
Yeah.
open to whomever
Yes.
he's gonna choose, because you don't know who he's going to use or
That
what
is
he's going to use.
so true.
And because I know me,
True.
that
Right.
I know me.
Open. What's your name? What's your
So you
I'm
have to
open.
prepare yourself, and that's my prayer, Lord. Make me open to receive whoever you choose. And if what they spit is not from you, help me to discern that as well.
Okay.
It's twofold, because everything may not be, but sometimes it may be. So I'm like, Lord, you know your child, you still spiritually circumcising me. We got some flesh to cut out. You know what I mean? But I want to hear from you. So if it's gonna make me better, that's why knowing who you are. If it hurts, then baby, it's your truth. You can't shoot the messenger.
Right.
Listen to the message. It's not about who's delivering it.
Right.
But listen to the message.
Right.
And once you really pay attention to what's being communicated,
right.
Yeah, it makes a world of a difference.
Well, I think that's
good. That's a
up.
perfect ending.
And also to let us know that we were going to continue communication, because we have some other areas in which we can go. So this was great. Once again, the ladies from Whatever and Stuff coming to you on our Sunday get together.
I gotta get my sweater next time. I feel kind of undone.
I'm sorry.
I have one in the closet. I just didn't know we were sweatering.
Okay.
I got a
little theme.
right.
It is more than sweater weather, honey. Yes, it is.
All right, ladies. This was great. Okay, we'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.
Yes, have a blessed
Good night.
Talk to you soon. Bye.